All right, I've already started shading. I'm leaving this hot spot or the highlight of the ball pure white. That's number 1 on our value scale. Now I'm trying to make the number 2 shade over here. And we're gonna slowly get darker and darker. Now remember, this is a practice round because on our final, we're not gonna draw these lines. This is kind of like a worksheet for you to practice. All right, next we're gonna do value 3. We're gonna go a little darker. Again, you can do this by either pressing harder or you can do the same pressure as you did for number 2 and just do more layers of it. That's kind of the approach I like to take to build up my layers. I think it makes it a little more 3D and it gives me a little more control so that I don't accidentally color too darkly too quickly. That's another reason we start going from light to dark. You can always go darker, but you can't always erase the darkest darks to get lighter. All right, so now I'm doing my second layer, trying to keep it to that ring where the shading should be darker. I'm leaving this at a level 2. A sphere is actually harder to shade than a lot of other objects. So once you get this down, other objects will feel easier. For instance, if I were making a cylinder, and I went from light to dark, the lines are straight, so it's actually easier to adjust. And then I get darker and darker. See that? Nice and straight. And then up here, same thing. Okay, so let's continue with our sphere. I'm gonna smooth this out a little bit. Again, we don't wanna smear or smooth it out with our finger to create the layers, only to smooth out the lines. You really control your values with your pencil. All right, next one, we're gonna go a little darker now. So this time I decided to just use pressure. I might go over it with more layers. It's kind of a judgment call. Every artist has their own way of tackling these assignments or these types of artworks. Okay, I'm kind of softening the line in between, smoothing it. Great. You can even make this dark part curve up a little more. Okay. Next section. So now we're getting into mid-tone values. So like these ones here, like 4 to 7, those shades. When we're done, you should see at least 4 different values in your artwork. Obviously here on our scale, we practiced 9, but you could make that infinitely more with all the in-between shades, or you could simplify it and do a few shades. We want to make sure we see at least 4 distinct shades or values. I think I might have gone a little dark there. I'm going to erase that in a moment. We want this change, the gradation, to be really gradual or slow transition, a slow change. Coming back in with circles. You can do this on just any blank paper. I'm using computer paper right now. If you do have art paper, that helps. It definitely does. So if you do have art paper, go ahead and use that. Like an artist sketchbook or, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go pretty dark here now. After this, I only have one more dark value to go, and this one's gonna be the darkest. I'm gonna try to make it as dark as 9. Well, I will make it as dark as 9, not try. And the effect, the shaded 3D effect looks best when you fill in all your white gaps. I'm working a little bit quickly so that my video isn't super long, but if I had more time, I would fill in all the tiny holes. Okay. I'm turning my paper sometimes to make it more comfortable for whatever angle I'm drawing. All right, pressing really hard now at the very edge. When you're blending out with your finger to smooth the lines, that's something you can also do with, if you have an artist paper pencil, paper little stump. It looks like it's kind of the shape of a pencil. Looks like paper, or you can even just use a tissue or a tiny piece of tissue or toilet paper. All right, so that's it for that. We're gonna make the cast shadow. The cast shadow means if light is coming from this direction, the ball blocks the light from where it's sitting on this table, right? So like, let's say we have our table here, we would have a shadow here. And shadows get distorted, so it's not gonna be a perfect circle, it's gonna be an oval. It's gonna start dark, and as it moves away, it gradually fades. So now, I'm gonna make a really dark area here so we see that. I'm gonna use circles, and again, I'm starting from light to dark. So I think what I'm gonna do for this one, instead of making it as divided up as the ball, I'm gonna start everything light, and then I'll build up the layers as it gets closer to the ball. This is the first time that I've held a camera while doing all this. Makes it a little challenging, but it's a fun new challenge. Okay, now I'm starting to go a little darker. I'm gonna leave this part that shade, a little darker here. Slowly darker and darker as I go in. I'm moving my pencil in lots of different directions to make the effect more solid. So unlike when we're coloring in with color pencils, and a lot of times we say color in one direction when it looks neat, when you start doing things that are more complicated like shading or even blending color pencils together, moving it in lots of different directions can cover up all the spaces and make it look more solid. The reason it works is because we're covering up all the little holes. If I was coloring in something really messily and just left a bunch of holes and you could see lines in different directions, that would not look quite as complete or neat. Okay, all right, so that's our practice one.